Good morning. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here today. We're going to take a look at Jeny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And I was thinking it'd be neat to see if we could figure out a way to keep that bind off from flaring. Some people have a problem where it looks kind of baggy, and I wanted to show you just a little technique that I sometimes use that allows me to use that bind off, and I don't have to change needle sizes, meaning I don't have to get a smaller needle to be able to get that bind off to look good and not flare. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. So this week I had a couple little things. I made these cute little tube socks in there to match my Jones sweater. I'm making this whole little set. So it has, this is the sweater. That's the Jones sweater by Tin Can Knits. And then I made these little tube socks. I haven't finished it yet because it's showing the bind off that we're going to be talking about today. And one of them I'm going to need to, this one right here, I'm going to take off and make it look like this one. So see the difference on the two? And it gives you a nice stretchy bind off that you can use for your little tube socks, but it's not flared at all. So I'll show you again so you can see what I'm talking about. See how it doesn't look flared? It just looks nice. This one is a little different technique, and I'm going to show you those different techniques as we're going along. Here is another example of using the method that I was talking about today. And these are just little popover mitts to match the sweater in moss stitch.
Did you do those 4 at a time?
No, I did them 2 at a time because we hadn't discussed it yet. I've been trying to let my hands rest just a little bit because I've had a little bit of a problem with swelling on my hands. So anyway, I've been trying to let them rest. But here are the little popover mitts, and those are cute. And that you can see again, the bind off is stretchy. It's not super stretchy, but it's stretchy, plenty stretchy enough, and it doesn't look flared and it doesn't look sloppy. So you can see on both of those. Yeah, so those will be cute little popover mitts, and then tube socks to match. And
people joining us here from
good
Alaska,
morning, everyone. It's
Boise,
nice to have all of
New
you
York.
here with us today. And as I'm going along, if you have your own ideas about this, don't forget to post comments in the comment section, because guess what happens when you post comments in the comment section? You get the chance to earn a prize. And for this week, I was thinking we could use this lovely baby alpaca lace. And you can choose either the light color or the darker color, light gray or dark gray.
Who's it from?
And this one is Cascade Baby Alpaca, made in Peru. And it is 100% baby alpaca. And it's very nice yarn. So I thought 2 skeins of it. They choose either the light gray or the dark gray.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought 2 skeins would make a nice little something to wear around your neck to keep you nice and warm. Yes. I think it's like 437. Yep, 437 yards exactly. Oh, I have a good memory. I haven't used this lace in a while, and it's 437 yards. Yeah, but it is a good product, and I love alpaca, and you guys all know that because of that hollow core fiber, it being very warm, and me being very cold. That is like a match made in heaven. And for this last week, we had the Chowgu red lace, and we were deciding upon the different cord lengths that people used. And I think you said the most popular cord length was a 40-inch, right? That was the most popular one. And if you guys haven't seen these Chowgu needles before, the cords on them are fantastic because they have no memory, which means they don't kink up. They just, see how this cord is just nice and straight? I've used this needle with the cords over and over, and it just stays nice and straight. So when you're trying to use the magic loop method for 2 at a time in the round or what have you, it just stays nice and straight, and it's easy to work with. So some cords, they twist around themselves, and you're trying to knit and the cord is in your way. Not a good plan, but these cords don't do that. That's why I love Chowgu. Plus, they're economically priced, I believe, for what they are. They're very high quality. So I wanted to take a look and show you what I was doing with this little bind off.
I wanted to see that sweater again because you just started. So.
Oh, sure.
And the hat
yeah.
too. So they can...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the sweater, here's my little Jones sweater. It is all complete. I do need to send it to his home. The baby's not born yet, so I'm ahead of schedule, which is good. And I really like this. It's such a cute. And it comes, the Jones sweater by Tin Can Knits comes all the way from baby size to adult size. So if you wanted to make one for yourself and make one for your little tot, you could do that. And this was also made by Tin Can's Knits. It's a bonnet pattern that I knit. Can you see it?
And then they can't see the string underneath.
It's I-cord.
An I-cord.
Yeah, I-cord ties on it. Yeah. Anyway, it's been in my bag, so it's kind of gotten a little bit wrinkled. I probably need to block it again. But then I made these little tube socks in the popover mitts. I just look at a pattern and see what stitch count I need for newborn size, and then I just made them off stitch. And so anyway,
so
super
no
easy.
For those? You're asking no pattern?
No, I never use a pattern. Half the time I just start knitting. Nowadays, it's almost where I can't be bothered to use a pattern. Anyway. Oh, here we go. So I wanted to show you this bind off, this Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off, because I had a friend, Tara, and when she did, she's like, I don't like the Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off. It gets too flared. And so I wanted to show you this little trick. So Jim's going to be my little helper here today. And he is doing great with his recovery on his brand new knee. He's walking around and he's not even using a cane anymore. It's so fantastic. So here I am. I have this little tiny sample. And so say that I was going to cast on, and this one I did the German twisted or old Norwegian cast on. You can see it's kind of pulled in a little bit. If you ever have that problem and you want to correct that problem, I very easily could have increased my stitch count by 10%. And meaning that because I had 20 stitches, I would cast on 22 stitches. And then in my first round of ribbing, just decrease it down by either a knit two together or purl two together. One decrease on either side would do the trick. So you wouldn't have that sucked in at the bottom. Because it's kind of nice when you have the cast on the exact width of the actual ribbing. So I kind of like that. But then let's take a look at these right here. Sorry, Jim, I have to reach a little bit here. So these are two different ways of doing this Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off. And one is by doing the yarn over with the knit, and the other one is doing the yarn over with the purl. And so I will do the first one I'll do the yarn over with the knit, so you can see what that looks like, and we'll do it across here. And then on the back side, we'll do the yarn over with the purl. So when we do the Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off, you create these yarn overs, and then you go ahead and bind off. Because what you're doing is you're actually putting more yarn into the bind off, which makes it stretchier, if that makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. So when you do a yarn over for a knit stitch, it's a reverse yarn over, meaning that it goes from the back to the front. And then you would knit it. And then on this very first one, we're just binding off one. Okay. And on the next one, because I'm going to make it so it doesn't flare, I'm just going to work the next one as a purl stitch. Okay. And then on this next one, yarn over knit, we're going to go ahead and, we do have to bind this one off though. So now we have one. Then we're going to do the knit, which is a back to front yarn over, and we're going to knit that one. And then we bind off the yarn over and the actual other stitch that we had, the purl stitch. And then on this next one, we work all purls as purls, okay? And then on that next one, the reversed, we're going to put a yarn over in that knit stitch. And then you can see how I'm putting half as many yarn overs into the actual bind off. And so what it does is it totally prevents flaring, because you don't have quite as much yarn in your actual bind off. So, but you don't want to split the yarn like that. You want to bring that right through, and then back to front and knit. So you'll get to see half of it with the purl treated as a purl, and then half of it were the, so this one is the purl. So we purl that one. Okay. And it's a knit, so a back to front yarn over. and then bind off that yarn over and the stitch. And the next one's a purl, so you purl. And then I'll show you, we can take a look and see what it looks like. So here we are. And it looks very much like this bind off right here. Okay. So now let's look and see if we can do where we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to do the yarn over with the purl stitch, and then we're going to treat the knit stitch as a knit stitch. Okay.
Why would you do that?
To get this look.
Oh.
This was with the purl stitch being a regular purl.
Okay.
This is with the knit stitch being having the yarn over it and yarn over. Okay.
Okay.
So the knit stitch gets to be treated as an actual knit stitch. So on this one right here, we're going to take that knit stitch and we're just going to knit it, and we're going to bind off one. Okay. Then on the next one for the purl, when you do Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off for the purl stitch, the yarn over goes just like a regular yarn over going from the front to the back. Okay. And then we bind those two off. You can bind them off, both of them at one time, or you can bind them off one at a time, whatever you want. So this one is the yarn over. And bind off those two stitches. And then a regular knit. And a yarn over and purl. And bind off those two. And then a knit. And a yarn over, purl. Some people will, like me, when I do the, I did my Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off on the, I think I did it on, oh, my sweater. I did a much smaller needle size. That's what it was. And that one goes there.
What does that do?
And well, it also prevents flaring. But sometimes people are like, I don't want to change needle size. I just want to get my bind off done, and I don't want it to flare. And so, anyway, this kind of gives you similar results. See, so that, you see how that one looks like this one? Those look alike. And let me turn it. Ta-da! And that's with the purls. Is that cool? So, something to think about. Let me show you on this one. See how that looks like the knit side when you turn your cuff over? So if you wanted to do it so that the cuff looks like the knit side, you could do it so that you had the, you did the yarn over with the purl, and then knit your things, and it would come on here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, what it does is, you can see here, you still have a stretchy, nice cuff, but you didn't. I didn't change any needle size. Isn't that cool? So I didn't really see that anywhere. I mean, I kind of just made it up on my own. Like, what if I did this, and then what if I did that? Just by experimenting. I don't know if people do that out there or they've tried it before or not, but I thought it was something that's pretty cool. So on here, here's my Jeny surprisingly stretchy bind off on the sleeves, and I used smaller needles. Do you see on these cuffs? Can you see them? Mm-hmm. Does it show up, Jim?
Yep.
Yeah. And that was with smaller needles, but you don't have to use smaller needles. You could use that little technique. You just have to choose which one you like better. You either treat the knit as a regular knit stitch, or you treat the purl as a regular purl stitch, and you put the yarn over with the other stitch. So if you're going to treat the knit stitch as a knit stitch, you would do yarn overs front to back with the purl stitches. And then if you were going to just purl the stitches, then you would treat the knit and then do the reverse yarn over for the knit stitch. Anyway, it's a pretty cool way to do it. So for this next week, I was wondering if you guys could tell me which you would prefer. I had a couple of ideas. One idea for next week that I was thinking about was how you can make lace it, how little hints or tips or tricks that you can use to make lace knitting easier. Or I was also thinking about how you can do color work and keep your floats from getting too tight when you're doing color work. So you guys choose, and then I will focus on whatever topic you think that you would like to hear about most. And let's see if we can find a winner. So we had the 40-inch cords for the Chalgu red lace needles, right? That was the winning. And let's see who the winner is for today. It's Denise Nicholas Sturzel. Yay! Denise, you won some wonderful needles. I hope you enjoy these. All you have to do is get in contact with customer service at Alpaca Direct, right, Jim?
Yeah, and she's going to like Chalgu, right?
Yes. If you haven't tried Chalgu needles before, they're the bomb. They have, what I love about them is not only the cord, but they have a really nice finish on them so they never tarnish. And they also have a really nice, you see the lace tip on the end? It's not too pointy. Some tips, if they're too pointy, see my finger? They actually poke a hole. Do you see that line in my finger? Can you see it online, Jim?
A little bit.
Well, it's from doing this, tapping the needle as I'm knitting. And so it actually puts a hole in my finger. So if the needles are too sharp on the end, what they do is they actually just cut my finger from doing that too much. Isn't that awful? And it'll hurt like the dickens. It'll almost feel like you have an electrical shock because it goes right into that groove where it gets kind of sore and it's like, yow, that hurts. So for this week, you guys, don't forget, we're going to vote about this Cascade Baby Alpaca lace, and we're going to choose either light gray or dark gray for the winner, for 2 skeins for the winner for next week. And I thought that would be great. Don't you think it'd make a great shawl? I mean, I know lace knitting is a little bit tedious, but I don't know. It's so soft and cozy. If you pick the right pattern, it really could be striking. So I hope all of you have a great week. And also, I found this pattern. It was on Ravelry. It was a free pattern. But look at the lovely leaves on it. It was within the first couple pages on Ravelry of it's a sock pattern. It's actually, is this in German? I don't know. But what I like about it is I don't have to be able to read the pattern because I know how to do on the sock. It shows you a short row heel. So a short row heel. And I know that if I'm doing regular sock knitting for my size, I need a 56 stitches to make it work. But with color work, I'm not going to use 56 stitches. I probably will even use 64 stitches. And look what they have included for you. Ta-da! Look at that. Patterns. It's a chart for, this one is for 60 stitches. This one's for 56 stitches. That one's for 64 stitches. So I don't really need to speak the language. This chart is all I need to make this beautiful pair of socks. So I thought maybe if I was making these, I could show you how I keep my floats from getting too tight. Because, you know, if we're tight knitters, I don't know if any of you out there are tight knitters, but I can be a tight knitter sometimes with some things. So especially if I get in a hurry or I'm talking to my husband and somehow my attention cranks up. Anyway, but I'll show you the few little techniques that I like to use to keep my floats so they're not too tight, so I can actually enjoy the projects when they're knit. So I hope all of you out there have a great week. And don't forget to post comments in the comment section so you can enter to win our prize for next week. Talk to you later.